So I remember this one day, I just lost my job. Earlier that week, I lost my girlfriend, and I'm driving home from what was work. And I pulled over on the side of the road because I currently lived with my mom, and I just didn't want to walk into the house with like all this on my mind. So I pulled over, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm contemplating my whole life. I'm contemplating what I'm doing, where I'm going. And I remember thinking to myself, just like, I had no plan. I had no idea where I was heading. I had no idea what was next. I had no goals in my life. And I just sat in my car, and I remember just like crying and just filled with all this emotion because I just lost everything that I thought I was. I put my identity in the money that I made. I put my identity in my girlfriend at the time and her affirming me and stuff. And whenever I lost both of those things, I was lost. So I remember going home that night after sitting in my car for quite some time. I finally went home. I hopped on Facebook and I was just scrolling, just trying to fill my mind with anything else. And I remember seeing a friend there that I haven't talked to in quite some time. And I reached out to them and just kind of explained where I was and like, we need to get together. I could use someone to talk to. And they basically responded with, Brandon, I know what you need. You need Jesus. He's crying out to know you. He wants to have a relationship with you. He wants you to seek him. And I just thought to myself, like, this is crazy. What are you talking about? Is honestly what went through my head at that time, because I grew up in church. I grew up Catholic most of my life. And I went to church every single week. I got confirmed. I was baptized as a baby. So my thought about God at that time wasn't very broad. I kind of put him in this box called religion, and I thought I knew who he was. I thought I knew what church was for, and I wasn't about it. I kind of gave up on it at that point. So I was pretty far from God at that point in my life, and she reached out to me, and I could tell that it was just, she genuinely cared about where I was and who I was and what I was struggling with. So her and another friend actually called me that night, and they invited me to an event the next day. And immediately I shot it down. I was like, no, I'm good. And then they were like, all right, well, if you change your mind, just let us know. And I thought about it the next day, all day. It just filled my mind all day. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm going nowhere in life. I have nothing to lose but everything to gain. So I called them up and I was like, hey, I want to go. So I met them there at this event. Had no idea what it was. And it was at like this boathouse. It was so weird to me at the time. But I remember as soon as I walked in the door, I was just greeted with this overwhelming love. And just, it was so genuine and authentic, and it was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just so genuine. And people really cared about me. People really wanted to know me. It wasn't this fake, like, hey, how are you? Good. It was like, no, really, how are you? Are you okay right now? What are you going through? And they could just sense where I was at. And I remember everyone just stopped at the same time, and they all gathered up front to worship. And I've never seen that before either. So everyone just starts lifting their hands, and people are crying. There's people kneeled down, people are laying down, and people were just seeking God. And I was looking around, and I was like, this isn't fake. This is real. And I remember closing my eyes myself and just talking to this God that I apparently didn't know. And I said, God, if there's a side of you that I don't know, the relational side of you, would you please show me that? Would you meet me here? And he did. He met me right there that night. And I remember just being overwhelmed with this love from God for the first time. And he took the pain, he took the worry, he took the fear, and just gave me peace in that moment. And suddenly I was just filled with joy. I remember just being overwhelmed with joy, and I didn't know why. Because the circumstance didn't change, but I had joy in my heart. And I left there with peace and hope. My name's Brandon. This is my story, and I serve the God of the wonderful.